Growing up on a farm with 3 brothers, I learned early on that the best way to prove my worth was to work consistently every day, day in and day out. I focused on what I did best, and I found new ways to do my fair share of work. I wasn't as physically strong as the boys, so I had to think outside the box and do my tasks a little bit differently in order to be efficient. I always had my grandmother's words in my head. We have to work smarter, not harder.
I'm Erin Hull. I'm a female farmer from upstate New York. This is my story.
I'm a 4th-generation farmer within Onondaga County, which is in upstate New York. I own a beef operation. We raise red Angus beef cattle, and I'm also a carpenter. And then on the side, I'm a collegiate ski racing coach. I'm also married. I've been married for, 19 years. I'm a mom. I've got 2 children. My son is 18. He's in his freshman year of college. And I have a daughter who's 15, who is a sophomore at our local public high school. Yeah, I do have a lot of balls in the air. Like, everybody who describes me says that I don't idle well. Like, I can't sit.
My name's Glenn Ferguson. I live down the road with my wife, Leslie. I spent some time here as a young man doing herdsman work, threw plenty of hay in this barn, learned how to drive a tractor here. What I saw here as a kid was that the Luxingers were really hardworking people. And if the only thing standing between them and some sort of success was work, it was theirs. They were gonna get it because they would work all day, all night. And they'd do it smart. They would work smart. Erin, she's bold, she's brassy, she's not gonna be held back. And I think she gets that from her dad, for sure.
I was born and raised on this farm here, and my dad came here in '55, bought this place. His father came here in 1901 from Switzerland. We always have done a lot of hay, and it was a much more labor intensive back then. Erin helped load hay, mow hay and stuff along with the boys, and she can operate all the equipment, tractors, balers, mow hay.
I grew up with 3 brothers, and we owned a dairy farm, or my family did. It was my grandparents and as well as my parents farming on that farm. And we were all expected to work on the farm at a young age. At 13, 14 years old, I was working right alongside my brothers, throwing hay bales. It was hard work, super physical, and I was with all the boys. I was the only girl on the farm at the time, but it was the camaraderie. Like, the best way to make awful work fun is to have fun with who you're working. So we would sing songs, we would make fun of each other. Farming in general is not an easy job, but upstate New York, we average about 100 to 120 inches of snow every winter. With snow comes a whole nother layer of difficulties. Number one, it's super cold. It's not rare for us to be 20 below 0 Fahrenheit. So, as a human, you have to dress warm, you have to dress appropriately. Cows have to be fed every day, so you have to be out there. And with the cold comes frozen water. Cows drink probably 10 gallons a day, so when you've got 50 cows, you're looking at a whole lot of water. And if your water freezes, cows can't survive. Winter is super difficult here, but that's back to mindset. There's a quote that's like, you can choose to not find the joy in the snow, but then you have the same amount of snow and less joy in your life. I was always able to do whatever. Like, I could be thrown in any situation and I could navigate. And I think that was because of all the things I did on the farm. Like, if something broke, you just did it. You had to fix it. So as soon as I got with a group of friends from different environments and, different places, I realized that, not everybody's like this. Like, not everybody is can do. And a lot of my friends didn't have that skill set. Like, if something broke, they called somebody. And I was just able to navigate through life, in my opinion, easier because of the things I learned on the farm. But it wasn't until I became an adult that I realized, oh yeah, I learned that, when I was 12 years old working next to my father.
First time I came to her house to pick her up, and her mother was there and said, Erin's not here yet. She'll be back shortly. About 10 minutes later, here comes a big John Deere tractor, pulling a mower, a big mower, comes flying right in the driveway, slams on the brakes. She jumps off the tractor and says, I'll be down in about a half an hour. I got to take a shower. And I'm like, wow. Like it's nothing. She's out mowing hay, and Erin gets her nails done and then breaks them, gets them done again. So, she's a girly girl. She wants to be, but she doesn't need to be.
I just always took that life for granted. When all of my friends were out having fun on the lake, I was working, because the old adage is you make hay when the sun shines. So I was always working during the good weather, and I wasn't able to enjoy my free time. So I learned early on that it was a lot of work. I most definitely did not want to be a farmer. So then I went to college. I got a degree in forestry from a local university, moved to Idaho, and I saw kind of the world in a different light, because I was always proud to be a farmer growing up. And I thought the rest of the world was proud of farmers as well. We're who provided the food. And it was really eye-opening to me to have people speak negatively of farming. And I really took that to heart. It hurt, because they saw us as uneducated, ignorant, dirty. So that's when I really decided that my passion was agriculture and ag education, and letting the rest of the world know what we're doing. I've always felt like, and I think it's because the way my parents raised us, women, men, work was work. I didn't view myself any differently or at a disadvantage. But if you want to view the script as, they say I can't do it, then you're not going to get it done. If you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to do it twice, take pictures, and prove you wrong. When it comes to animal care, women definitely have an advantage. We have a disadvantage in other places in terms of physical ability, but other than physical ability, that's about our only disadvantage. I think as a mom, I maybe take things a little bit more heartfelt. Like if I have a cow who's struggling, I can feel her struggles. I have more empathy towards the animals than, say, a man would.
My name is Joel Reelman. I'm a partner here at Venture Farms, a 1,250 cow dairy located here in beautiful Fabius, New York. Production agriculture maybe has been a man's occupation for many generations, but things change. Generally, women have a lot more patience and are suited very well for baby calves. Just that the right mentality, the right thoughtfulness that you need, feeding calves. I can also say that the vet practice that we work with, which was dominated by males for a majority of my career, is now almost 100% women, from the small animal to large animal, including cows and horses. I think it's just something that once you break that barrier and a certain segment of the population sees that opportunity and get exposed to it, saying, yeah, this would be a great career.
My name is Shannon Dill. I work for the University of Maryland Extension. Annie's project started almost 20 years ago. It began as a way to bring women together, to learn, to gain knowledge and skills, to be better in agriculture, to empower them to operate a business, to purchase a farm, to work with their spouse or their family on the farm enterprise. I think women have always had a role on the farm. I just think now there's maybe more recognition and awareness about women's roles. Nationally, it's between 30 and 40% is about the average of women farmers. When it comes to the farm, I don't see gender as an issue because it's got to be done. The crops need to be dealt with, the animals need to be dealt with. And so regardless of gender or age group or any of that, it's all hands on deck. I think the obstacles that women see today are some of the leadership roles in decision making. It's still definitely a male-dominated sector. And I think that while women are recognized, people that are making decisions about agriculture, there is not as much of a women's voice, I don't think. I do think it's changing. We have women representation in Farm Bureau or in grain producers, but I think there could be more.
Come on. Let's go. Come on, pretty girl. I just need her to step up so that when she goes through the gates, it'll automatically lock. But cows are pretty funny in the fact that they're very used to their own surroundings.
Cows are grazers, so they graze grass, and they graze sometimes a little bit close to the ground, and in the grass are worms and parasites. And when they graze that grass, they then ingest those parasites. So it's important to treat them twice a year. Generally, I use 2 different active ingredient drugs to kill the parasites within their body.
This is a worming solution, so this is just to keep them healthy. Ready? Out you go. This is Lincoln. This is Elsa's show steer. Born on the 4th of July. So because he weighs less, I have to turn it down so he gets less warmer.
It's also very important to have clear identification on an animal because they do lose ear tags, they break, they pull out. If I have an animal that becomes sick, I will use antibiotics. And I need to know really well who I treated with antibiotics. So if I have a whole bunch of cows without ear tags, I can't say fluffy cow, short legs, that could be 6 different cows. It's nice to run them through the chute and get a nice once over, like look at their feet. Does anybody need treatment? It's good animal husbandry to get your eyes and hands on a cow. And none of it hurt them, but they get a little freaked out because it's foreign to them.
He's got a little bit of scabs behind an ear tag, so I'm just making sure that gets cleaned out. How do your ears look? They look good. Okay, ready, Bubs? Out you go, Link Man. And it keeps them a little bit more safe. There we go. So next I got a mama cow. So these big cows sometimes don't like to go through the chute. They're really big. And so she's struggling size-wise to get through it. There, good girl. So she doesn't have an ear tag and she should. So I'm just checking her. So this is more or less just an earring. It's got a sharp point on one end. There you go.
The carpentry kind of came about in an odd way. It plays into my personality because I feel really good about myself when I can see things that I have done. I can see a dinner on a table. I can see a field that has been mowed. And with carpentry, that ties right into it because my self-fulfillment and self-happiness comes from doing. And with the farm and the carpentry, every day I can walk away and say, I did that.
I actually met her while I was doing work for her family. I've known her family, her father and mother, the better part of 20 years. And then she started having me do work for her and her husband. And as the story goes, I was on a job and the person that was working with me took another job right in the middle, didn't give me any warning, and hers was next in line. And she had me plan to do a remodel of her kitchen. So she showed up on my job the day after she found out I wasn't gonna be there when I planned and says, what can I do to make this go faster? So basically I said, put on a tool belt, start cutting vinyl siding, and she was a fast study. Within 2 days, she was up to the speed of most pro guys. And from there forward, she's been my right hand. As far as an employee goes, she's probably one of the best I've ever had. And as a carpenter who just picks stuff up and retains it, even better. Something that I've learned having her around that I never really put much thought to, and I think it's a gender thing more than people would want to realize, is she is very meticulous about things. My experience with a lot of other carpenters, male carpenters over the years is, this will be all right. They don't necessarily care about it being perfect, whereas she is far more generated towards not maybe perfection, but striving for it.
Okay, so we'll do the furring strips and then canozerate her up.
Her personality, I think, helps her a lot in this job, because being that she's a woman, a lot of guys would like to walk right over her or ignore. And we've experienced that in other situations where they'll be standing next to her and talk past her to talk to me about what's going on. The way things operate for us most of the time is we're both on a job together, I'm the leader, but there are times when I have to go and do other things and she'll be there. And there's been a few different occasions where people that I think were shocked by that fact that she worked for me to begin with, and then I would walk away and say, she's in charge, she's going to do these things. And I would always tell them, trust me, I wouldn't do this if I didn't trust her. And it's always worked out that way. People have always been impressed by her. And almost always at the end of a job, I'll get the comments from the homeowners or whoever that were really amazed at how well you guys do, and that, that Erin can take all this stuff and do it herself as well as you can. Most of what she does is her passion, like the farming and the stuff with all her kids. I mean, she's a soccer mom. She does all those things. And I think it's because she loves it.
So this is Elsa's nightly ritual, is we run Zinnia and Lincoln into the barn and then get a halter on him.
I rinse him every day and only wash him like every 3 days.
Yeah, so she rinses every day and only washes every 3 days.
Because only 2% of the population farms now, the majority of children do not have access to a farm. So when I see a kid or a little girl say, I want to be a farmer, poof, man, that's a perfect entrance. Like, you can come to my farm. I can get your boots on the ground at any farm you want. And any farmer in America is going to say the same thing. We all want that next generation, whether they came from a farm or not, to advocate for us, to appreciate what we do. I really enjoy social media. I think it's a great way to get our point across. I can show my farm, I can show other farms. I learned early on that is the reason we need ag education, is to explain why we're doing the things we're doing, because something that might be portrayed negatively is actually a positive and why we're doing it, but it can be portrayed negatively. So it was important for us to get our point across to our target audience, which is consumers, ultimately, people who consume beef, to teach them where their meat comes from, how it's raised. I want to educate. I want to explain, this is why we put ear tags in. This is why we provide the water troughs we do. This is why I castrate. I want to explain to you, the consumer who doesn't understand, why I'm doing it and why it's important.
If you go back into the 80s and 90s, I don't think that exposure was really great to kids in public schools. There was a spark lit somewhere. There are a lot more ag programs re-entering public schools. FFA, the Future Farmers of America, ties into public school and education. Within the community, 4-H programs. 4-H it's not just cows. It's not just livestock. 4-H is more encompassing than that, from public speaking to baking to sewing. It encompasses everything that a young person should know growing up. It was about a 50-50 split between young boys and young girls in the club, and now it's about 20% boys and 80% girls. So now it's kind of the other way. We're trying to get some boys involved in that.
My 4-H group is actually primarily girls. I've been in it for almost 10 years. I've been showing dairy for almost 10 years and beef for almost 3 years. I actually used to do horrible with showing cows. I used to place in the bottom half every year, but the past couple of years I've gotten really good at it. There's 2 different categories, showmanship and breeds is about the cows, how they look, and showmanship is about how you present them. Breeds, you just pick a good cow and hope that it wins, but showmanship is actually about you. And so I've always done horrible in showmanship, but the past 2 or 3 years I placed first at a small show, I placed reserve grand champion for showmanship at a pretty big show. So I've gotten way better at it.
Her animals she loves. And it's pretty empowering to see a 120-pound kid holding a halter of an animal that weighs 1,200 pounds. All that cow had to do was disagree with her and she'd be drug across the ring. So her heifer was due to have its first calf. And she was late. Her due date had come and gone. She hadn't had the calf yet. And on the 4th of July, her cow started to go into labor, and Elsa and I were at the farm, and I said, Elsa, this is a really big calf. I think she needs help. And Elsa kind of looked around and she said, who do we call? And I said, we call us. Like, I'm the person that gets called for this, Elsa. So she wasn't ready for it, but I said, we got to get in there and help. And if you've never assisted in a birth of a cow, there's a lot of fluid. Like, everything's wet. And Elsa got in there with me. I'll probably cry thinking about it. And she assisted me. We really had to help this heifer. She was struggling. And we delivered a really healthy bull calf that was massive. And like, it was super special to me to see this kid who is, 120 pounds, 14 years old, just accomplishing something, like bringing life. It was amazing. I'll never forget that moment ever in my life. It was super special to me. I was crying. I was like so excited. And she's like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, what do you mean what's wrong with me? I said, this was amazing. And she's like, it was totally gross. Like, that was disgusting, Mom. And I go, yeah, that's the miracle of life. It's not clean. But I think, and I hope and pray that 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, she's gonna say, man, remember? Like, when I was 14, I jumped in there with my mom and we delivered a calf. And there's part of me that's like, hoorah, girl power. But the other part of me is like, that's just what you do. But I do celebrate those moments.
It was like my first experience and I really enjoyed it. Like, it was really cool for me, especially having her first calf and I got to pull it. So he was 105 pounds, which usually we want them like 90-ish pounds. So he was a big boy. And he was born on the 4th of July, actually. So his name is Lincoln.
Farms are families, and that line gets blurred a lot because you're in a business with your family. You're working in the field together. You're working in the office together. You're having dinner together. You're celebrating holidays together. Women bring a very important aspect in keeping the family moving forward. Women have very unique, just personal characteristics that add to the farm. She's the marketer, she does the website or the social media, and she's selling, and she's driving the tractor, and she's planting, and the kids have soccer today, and so it's really balancing all of those. Women in the household are generally the decision makers of what people eat. They're the grocery shoppers, they make usually the meal plans. And so I think that if you go to a farmer's market and there's a woman purchaser and a woman seller, to bring the seller and the consumer together, we're seeing that nationwide, that there's a connection there, that it's a female farmer, I feed my kids this, and then it's a woman saying, well, I should feed my family this because it's fresh, it's healthy, it's local.
Sorry, but she's a badass. I mean, like, she's a great mom. And she's always the one in the morning to go feed the cows and all that. Like, she's always there. And then she is also a carpenter. Like, it's incredible. And I mean, she educates everyone. She's the one who got me into agriculture.
She can raise your beef. She can drive a tractor. She can side your house. She can also be a mom, a wife. She can cook.
She's amazing. You look at her, you talk to her, you don't even begin to understand what she's really capable of. That's amazing to me.
My advice to my daughter is there's not a thing in this world you can't do. If you can dream it, you can do it. And I know that's like super cliche, but it's absolutely true, and that's a mindset. You put your mind to it, you can do it.